the Ring characters, right? And then you get to talk to Gandalf. Um, it's kind of on the surface a cartoon or kind of a game, but for the business owner, the solopreneur, that wearing of many hats and those characters take on a different role. You could have a character running, your entire back end as a chief financial officer. You could have them, trading coins, etc., on your behalf. You are only limited by your own imagination. And so if we can equip, enable, and inspire you with the basic tools and understanding of the underlying technology, you guys are off to the races. And hopefully you'll be inspired by what you see here today. I see lots of people in the audience now, and I'm not seeing very many of our students. They're probably sleeping in, which is kind of funny. But we do have lots of examples of what people have built, and hopefully you will leave here inspired. Thursday mornings, we try to keep it under an hour. Wednesday nights can go about 3 hours. So this is the down and dirty, and usually it's just click, 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 click. But hopefully you will be inspired to get to know that there are really awesome classes being held behind the scenes. Many of you may not know that there is a whole entire ecosystem of school where you can hack your own education. See that Dan's coming up. He's one of the students too. Ross, are you ready and prepared?
Yeah, the live stream is just about to go live right now, and we're going to quickly run through everything. So if you want to take any questions or anything, you do it right now. It's a good time.
Excellent. Dan, did you have any questions, or are you just coming up?
Well, just change of modality. I'm at a Starbucks. It's very loud, so I just want to say I do have questions, but I'll put them in the chat for this one, and that's just roll with the punches.
Excellent, Smithers. Excellent. Okay, Starbucks, I do know that you're coming up too. And I see that Matthew is also coming. 9 times out of 10, please don't find this offensive. We have lots of people that come into classes. It's usually our students that come up in the panel because we're trying to answer their questions and conduct a class first. So please don't take offense if we're not bringing up. We're trying to maintain continuity between classes and also have the recording as solid as we can for our students, because obviously the students are all over the world and a lot of them listen in, our future dwellers especially, listen in on the recording. So please forgive me ahead of time. Like I said, it's kind of like talking at, and that's not necessarily my superpower. So I always feel guilty about doing that. But please use and abuse the purple bubble. If you want to know something, ask right away, and if you're here just to learn agents, then definitely make sure that you are behind the scenes DMing tech in schools. Make sure you're following them. Make sure you're, understanding that, hey, if you subscribe, which is dirt cheap, honestly, use the ITT code, 20% off. That's locked in forever, by the way. It never goes up. So those of you that are really ticked off about credits, you have unlimited credits, because this is with the school system, folks. And so there are a lot of really wonderful, interesting goodies that you get that no one else gets, because you are by proxy one of us. So being involved in the Slack channel, understanding that you are taking and hacking your own education, you get trinkets and trash that other people don't. So that is something that hopefully makes you smile. I'll just do it that way. Starboss is up. Rutro, did you finish your project, love?
I did. I'm still tweaking it and playing around with the design, etc. But yeah.
Excellent. I might pick on you, but you know that I do it with love. If we use some of the examples and ask questions, I'm asking them as a foil today, because we do have a lot of new people, that you can explain your process. Most of these folks are not developers. They're not coders. They're not anybody who has worked in technology, and yet they are creating some of the coolest stuff you'll ever see. And I just think that if you're here and you're inspired by that, just know that these are just ordinary folks that have decided to show up, and they show up every Wednesday night after a long days of work, giving unto Caesar for their 9 to 5. They show up and they hack their own education and they learn to build. I know that Joey Vowles asked this morning, how long does this take? Well, it depends on how advantageous you are and how initiated you are. We've seen people pull all-nighters and create legions, right? We've seen other people poke along the whole entire 6 weeks. It just depends on what your why is and what it is that you want to build. So, and the more open you are about what you want to build, the more likely you will find your collaborators here. So if you are working on a project or looking for somebody, put it down in the purple bubble. Say, I'm building XYZ. I'm looking for XYZ. I want to learn XYZ. The universe always conspires with us. It really does. So, Rutro, did you post in the Slack channel and up top your project?
I posted in Slack last night, so it's there.
Excellent. Okay, so for those also that do not know, we are operating within a sandbox, for lack of a better term. It's basically playing bowling with bumpers so that we don't frack things up. We are playing with cPanels and they are real, and these things do go live, but we're within the confounds of TSI. So they have the ability to look and to help us navigate some of the technology. And then when it goes live, it's out in the wild. So when we post it in the Slack channel or have it or share our screens up top, that is why. And that's how you are seeing things happen in real life. All right. Cash Money Kev, while Ross is finishing up with the live stream, can you explain to folks what you built over the last 5 weeks, why it matters, and what you learned?
Actually, this is perfect timing because Ross just got the live stream up. And
Excellent. Then you don't have to.
And if you guys want to take a look at it, it's right there. Or I can post it also in the comment section if you just want to go there. Nothing's set up though, so you can't buy anything officially. But it is pretty much, oh my gosh, sorry about that. My cats are going crazy in the background, if you heard that. But I pretty much set up over these last few weeks an AI bot website that is all of the AI. Well, we have the experts from ITT. We have the AI Tech in Schools expert. We have Mattia. He's a co-host. He's an accountant as well. I put him in there. I put Josh in with his business innovation as a business innovation expert. Yeah, and I got myself in there as a data analyst. So yeah, and I pretty much, the idea going into it, I also have Luke. Sorry about almost leaving you out there, Luke. But my idea going into it is I can kind of take our experts, turn them into bots, have them up 24/7, and they could work as like a customer service pretty much, or help you guys out on the website, or for anybody in the ITT community that just needs those specific niche solutions quickly. And I know you can probably get this from other AI companies currently, but what I'm going to try to do in the end is optimize it so the cost is as low as possible. And I'm not trying to go for profit really at all, but just borderline just to keep it up pretty much. So yeah, and that's the goal. Keep it as low cost as possible for you guys.
Well, I will say, Cash Money Kev, like for you, it'd be cool if like after anyone did a segment, they become personified on like the wall of bots.
I had that idea too, Ross. I love that you're on the
It's a
same
good idea.
wave. Yeah. And I was thinking about that. I was like, man, I could just totally ask him and be like,
Well,
hey.
instead of just like for example, like if let's use Sarah for example, right? If you put her up there, it wouldn't be like, oh, all about Sarah. It would be like what Sarah does in the Innovators Think Tank, and it would also know about different things she's done. So any session she's done would be added to the memory. So if someone's like, can you give me a refresher on what you went over with community like a while ago? The Sarah bot would be like, oh my God, yeah, here's a link to that ITT, and here's what I talked about. You see how cool
100%.
that is?
Yeah, 100%. That's where I'm going for.
So
And
like, if it's like Dr. Heath, like let's just say you'd be like, oh, where can I find you at Innovators Think Tank, and what do you do? And then it could like go in and talk about a little bit of Dr. Heath, but more like what segments he's done and what's coming up. And you could update that.
Yeah, and then all I would need is like their permission, and for them to be included in like for their data and stuff like that. And I
And
think
it's
a
so
lot of these
cheap
experts are
that
on
like
board.
if Innovators Think Tank got like a GPT key and used like 4.0 mini, like the cheapest thing in the world.
Ross, just to jump in real quick, for folks that are listening in, these agents do a lot of different things, right? They can also be behind a paywall. So if you're an expert in some kind of consulting, right, you training your agent to work on your behalf, that is the legion that we talked about this morning. So you have a whole cadre of people, air quote people, in your quiver that are working on your behalf out in the wild. You have to kind of think about here as world builders, just like our students have for the past 5 weeks. When we first start the segment, they don't really know what they're going to build because they don't really know what they want. You have to ask yourself, why are you here? Why are you in this space? Why are you listening in? What is it that you want to accomplish? Put yourself in the middle of that piece of paper. You have an analog, you can use your Notions docs or whatever. Put yourself in the middle, and then all of the spokes and different revenue streams that you hope to have. If we have a TikTok person that is earning $43 million a year, right, doing certain things on her OnlyFans, right? You can have these agents working on your behalf. You are just limited by your own kind of parameters, right? Ross, you have Rutro's hand up. So do you want to answer that question first? Go ahead, Rutro.
Going back to Cash's sort of the idea that you sort of threw out, wouldn't you have to have like the X's API, or how would that work? I mean,
No,
if
because it just uses data. So, we know what segments are happening. So it's just about like giving it to the AI and then giving it like a little blurb. Like it's a manual process, no API. That's why it's actually interesting. Because if you have something that you don't like, so like let's say there's a segment and you're like, oh, well, that didn't go as planned. You don't have to personify it. You could even cherry pick who gets put on the AI wall so that when people talk to it, they can learn a lot about the Innovators Think Tank. And there's no paywall. And it's all running on the smallest AI model that costs cents. So it's used as a driver of advertising almost for free. And by
so,
free,
would
I mean you
you
don't got to pay an advertising company. You pay cents for new users to get introduced to the system without messaging you for the first time.
so for like Dr. Heath, I mean, so all the times that he's been on the Saturday, I mean, so um the ITT crew would have to sort of download that thing,
Not
transcribe
really.
it.
Not
No?
not
Okay.
fully. I mean, you would just give it a blurb. You got to remember, guys, this is AI. It's the smartest thing in the world. So if you're just like, Dr. Heath covered XYZ, like just the name of the segment is probably enough for it to infer what's going on. You wouldn't
Rutro,
need
I guess you
exact
could
data.
use Grok, I guess, too, or something.
You could,
Like,
yeah. You could even go to Grok as getting the base info. So you head over to Grok in X and be like, give me a full explanation on this X profile. And then you would take that and just put it into the training.
Rutro, about 2 weeks ago or a week and a half ago, Ross posted an entire clip that he used me as the example. It scoured every post that I had made in the past 2 decades and then created that persona that talked in my voice. Two perfectly AI agents conducted an interview that sounded exactly real, had the whole entire, nuances of conversation, and had known me as a personality over the past 2 decades of content being added onto the computer, via blogs, via TED Talks, via classes, anything that was used, and scoured it and had an almost accurate, there were some bold-faced lies, that AI told about me. I was kind of puffing my own, skirt up because I was like, "Ooh, I'm actually pretty darn special," but not really. I mean, there are certain things that it would make, kind of leaps in logic that were not true. But the point is that this these tools have an immense, their superpower of all AI is aggregating data. So they can aggregate whatever the flip you want. If you want to be a meme trader, they can aggregate all that data and they can synthesize and they can build, right? Mike Mongo, actually, when he created his persona of Sherlock, for instance, he gave Sherlock personhood. And Sherlock makes his own money and Sherlock invests his own money, totally separate than Mike as, the human. You are trying to think outside of the box. So let's say we have all of these personas and this data that is already involved in Innovators Think Tank. All of that can be used. And then, like Cash Money Kev, he has his whole cadre of people. He's got his Luke, and Luke is building his website. He's got all of these characters that are archetypes, right? We started as a tarot deck, right? And we thought, okay, what are the archetypes of people? And now we're looking at it from a business model saying, who do we need in our Avengers squad? Who do we need in our D&D crew to create an entire business model that will run our business on our behalf and we don't have to necessarily be there? That is the interesting question. And that's how far we've come in this class, is that now you've built something. You have your cPanel, you have your characters that are going to be embedded and they can take money. You can have some of these people be so stinking awesome in terms of their skills and talents that they're behind a paywall and you have to pay to see them. So that's kind of where we ended last night too, is that some of the examples, Julie's project, for instance, she shut all the doors. So you couldn't get everything for free, right? So we're learning how to do that part. But yeah, Rutrow, it's really powerful.
And remember, what's cool is these bots can serve links. So you could be like, make sure when someone says, I want to pitch, you send them to the pitch spot on the website. It's really cool what you could do. But yeah, so any other questions before we do the quick speed run?
Let's do a speed run. I don't see any other questions and I don't have any in the DMs. Fire away,
Okay,
Ross.
so are you guys all able to see the live stream? Is that good?
I can. Yep. Cash Money Cap can also.
So make sure you guys have the docs open. You're gonna need that. Gotta find it. Your docs will always be in your cPanel. I'm gonna download the docs so I can go to it. Because I don't even know my password. Because I did not reset password yet. But that's next. Also, your guys' work is really, really good. Julie's looks crazy. And it's fully on lockdown, which is nice. Rose is also on lockdown. It's so nice. All these are so cool. Obviously, I'm biased. Kevin's is cool because my profile's there. But it's really cool. All these are so good. Is anyone going to put this live after this week? Put an emoji if you're going to use it. I had a bunch of people reach out about like legality of charging people. And they were super excited that they could just charge people.
Well, to give folks an inkling, Ross, explain what a cPanel is and why the multiplier effect.
The cPanel's cool, and why we learn about it is because it allows you to author and build software without having to worry about the infrastructure. Not cost, but the infrastructure woes. Like sometimes you build something and it needs a database, it needs security, and cPanel gives you a way to do all this without knowing how to write any command line code at all. It's not free, but it is the best in class. So that's what we're using to create the things we're creating. And each season we're using cPanel in a different way. And right now we're using it to basically create a website where you can have multiple bots and an admin panel where you can manage your agents and input data, customize them, and even embed them on other websites, which is crazy. And what we did yesterday was run through the admin panel and set up all the different things. So I can't see what you guys did from the inside, right? Unless I go and log in with the original credentials which would then immediately expose everyone who didn't change it. So I think that's where we're gonna start. So the first thing you want to do, y'all, is add an admin that's not this guy. That's the first step. And then, since you can't delete him, you could change his password. Or you could change the admin to be you. So you have to add yourself, because having this guy here is not going to help your case. So I want everyone right now to do either two things. One, leave this guy and add a new admin. Or two, enter this account right here, hit edit, and change it. Because it'd be not good if someone could easily log in with base credentials to your app and just give themselves 30 million tokens. Does that make sense, everyone? And I just got a bunch of DMs because Sarah somehow turned this into a nightclub, and now there's a lot of people here.
I'm so sorry.
It's okay. So all the DMs that are asking, I got 6 of them asking about if it could do different jobs, agents. Yes, they can. You program them in the back end, and then they're available to you. Limitless, no limits, no token limits, all the models. You run the show, basically. It's your AI circus, and you are the ringleader.
If you are lost, this is because this is the 5th class of the 5th season. So
Yeah, I've seen a bunch of
don't
people are coming
freak out
in
about
for
that.
here.
Yep. If you're totally lost, Akuna Matata, no worries. Take a deep breath. All of our sessions are recorded, so you can go back to very first one and figure out what we were doing, how we started this entire project, and you can do it on fast mode too, right? And I actually recommend you get frustrated fast, just do the Thursday recap spaces just to get your footing, right? You are in the deep end of the ocean today, folks, and learning side by side with folks that have been here for the 5 weeks. But don't fret. This is very accessible to each and every one of you. We did it in little increments. You can't eat a whole elephant in one bite. You have to do it in little increments, right? So if you just want to listen in, that's cool. And we don't take offense if you come in and out of the class. That's great. Some people can only take it in little increments and then, move on. But write down your questions, figure them all out. And then after class, when you want to get in touch with Ross, especially if you're curious about what Tech in Schools is and what the tools are, especially the My AI Tutor, which is going to change your life, basically. You want to make sure you have their discount code because that's really important. And you also want to make sure that you're very concise about what it is you want to accomplish, because you do have an onboarding call and you are able to talk one-on-one with Ross, and he can lead you and guide you in the thing that you want to build. So if you're a musician and you want to build an orchestra, you can do that, right? But you have to tell him what it is you envision, what project, what idea you'd like to take to impact. So don't get frustrated. I know that this sounds like, what the heck are we doing? It's a class. Just sit down, drink your coffee, take it in, and start imagining what it is that you'd like to build, because you have cohorts here that want to see you succeed and will celebrate your achievements. That's kind of what we do here. So go ahead, Ross, continue with your class.
Also, really quick, this just in. The first drop of ChatGPT's 12 Days of Insanity is a new pricing model, guys. So AI Tutor is about to get a lot more cooler because they're making it way harder to use now. Now it's $200 a month for what you get at AI Tutor. Isn't that crazy? It's called ChatGPT Pro.
I'm telling you, this is not a show, folks. This is
Crazy.
Sarah. This is Sarah as a mentor. The barrier to entry for these tools is going to be those subscriptions. They are going to gatekeep you. If you just think about it, they're going to gatekeep you. You are going to pay hundreds and hundreds of dollars a month in order to have access to these tools. And if you are thinking about creating a business, you're going to need these tools. This is going to be the cost of business, but the barrier to entry is going to continue to go up. And if you have access to tools that have everything under one umbrella, that don't have these rate limits, you are going to succeed. You're going to have smaller, margins. And you'll be able to compete with people with huge budgets. And we're trying to democratize these tools. We strongly believe that everybody should have these at their fingertips, not just a select few. So as you're listening to these 12 days of ChatGPT, and you're thinking about how much money it costs to use these tools, because once you use them, you can't go back, because you realize, wow, this just magnified all of my superpowers. And everybody else is going to be using them. So your ability to compete in the public square, if you think it's hard now as a solopreneur to get any eyeballs on your project, you have no idea what's coming in terms of how hard it's going to be when you have all of these bots also competing. But if you have your own bots competing with those superpowers in the public square, you got a fighting chance. So when he mentions $200, that drives me nuts, because you know what? You still won't be able to finish your project. You'll be paying that subscription fee, and then halfway through your project, they're going to say, "I'm so sorry, you don't have enough tokens. You're going to have to wait. You're going to be put in a timeout box for an hour." And that's not how business works. So anyway, I'm sorry.
Well, let me tell you how business. I could tell you how business works. OpenAI, for the 350 mark, there's a team version which is unlimited. So that's what it would take to get just OpenAI unlimited. 350. I'm literally reading it. It's crazy. And we're also gonna have an AI tutor, GPT 4.5 and O1 Pro mode, which is the new thing coming out. But yeah, just a little tidbit of info. Crazy. I did not expect that one this morning. $200 chat GPT per month.
It just makes
And
me
that's why
sad.
you should make your own. Yeah, that's why you should look elsewhere and make your own tools. Especially when it comes to accessing certain models. Why would you want to pay $200 when you could pay 25 or 30? Just makes no sense. But people will figure it out. I have people messaging me all the time when I think it's like a customer call, and it's not. It's someone just thanking me and how awesome it is to have unlimited access to all the models in the earth. That's a literal message I got 2 days ago. And it's cool. People really enjoy having access, where all these other companies are just further gating access, which is super annoying. That being said, we can go back to what we're doing. Did you guys change the admin user? It's on stream, what you should be changing. If you don't change this, I wouldn't launch. You become a target. I would change this as soon as possible. You just go in here, you change the email, you change the password.
Make sure you're also taking note and putting it in your Notion docs. This is for the recording, time snap. You want to make sure that you have all of the directions. Leave your future self breadcrumbs. So, Ross, everybody here is caught up. Go ahead.
So after you change that, what we did yesterday was we went in and we changed all of the avatars. And again, we're not going to go over that because that's a waste of time. But you can go in here and you can put in your AI training, you could drop a paragraph, you can make a prompt, you just don't want to really leave it as is because, well, one, the prompts aren't that great, right? And two, you want to be unique. So make up a new name, use AI Tutor, come up with a nice persona and drop it in there. Or just write a persona. But don't leave it as is. I know it seems like it's easier, but it's not correct. I mean, if it's a mess around project, sure. If you're trying to market this, definitely don't do that. Because then you and someone else could possibly have the same prompt, which is bad. Does everyone understand? Also, I gotta blow my nose really quick, so here's Nick in case you need anything. What's up, guys?
Like Nick, he threw you to the wolves, dude. I
He
apologize.
really did.
Nick, I got a quick question. Oh, sorry, you go. My
Go
bad,
ahead.
my
Well,
bad.
Cash Money, you can ask a question. Just so folks know, Tech in Schools is Nick, Alisher, and Ross. You're going to see all three of these gentlemen, and they are interchangeable in a lot of ways. They are a hive mind, and they work in an ecosystem that is pretty much a hackathon 24/7. So getting to know Nick is also really awesome. And so I just wanted to put that there. Go ahead, Cash Money Kev, add add your question. I was caught on an off guard because I was trying to fix something with my cPanel. Go ahead.
Yeah, me too. I was rushing for the button, and I was a little bit behind, but so my bad for stepping on toes. I had a quick question, Nick, if you're still there, or Ross. How do you can you show again how to switch over, or because it says the admin cannot be deleted, but I have like me set up as an admin. Can you show how to like delete that real quick? Yeah.
So what you can do is just edit the admin account.
Oh,
So instead of deleting, we're just gonna. You know why you can't delete, you crazy person? Because if you delete it, PHP will eat itself alive. The first user always in PHP is the admin. If you were to delete record 1, it would just lose its mind. So that's why it cannot be deleted. It's on purpose. Oh, I have a fun question before we continue. If you wanted to delete it, anyone know how you would do it? If you wanted to just go against all the rules, where would you do it? Who knows? What the LLM knows? Let's go, Sharon. What is it? What do we do?
I hope I do. I would have to go in PHP. I would have to go there and work on it, right? Or is that
Where would you find that data?
well, I'm not in front of my PC. Is there something that says admin maybe? Maybe I don't know.
In the database.
You don't need to be in front of your PC. Where would user data be stored?
Database.
Yep.
Okay.
So you would go into the database and do it, but you don't want to do that. That's bad.
Well, you would definitely want to change the password though, right?
You could change the password and the username. You just can't delete it.
Yeah.
So you guys all
Ross,
saved it?
I just have a quick question. Where did you find that information for OpenAI? Can you send me that, the post, please?
Yeah,
Thank you.
so silly. It's not officially out yet. It must have dropped this morning. In ChatGPT JSON. So like when you log in, a bunch of JSON comes into your computer, and that has normally the newest things. And a lot of people find like what's happening tomorrow based on the JSON from today. I know that sounds insane, but if you look at the Twitter I just sent you, you can see where someone has extracted all the relevant information from the ChatGPT this morning, and you can see what's coming, basically.
You know, one of the other things, I know this is kind of a small tangent, but we've mentioned it before. I'm answering a question in the DMs. All of our students have created their own GitHubs in previous seasons, and that serves as their transcripts and core competencies. You know, these are things that normal people would not have to deal with. When you're talking about JSON files, when you're talking about all of the different kinds of things that they're dealing with today, you know, HTML and your PHP, all of these have become kind of, I don't know, our glossary of terms. We all get to know and learn how to do all of these things. If you go back to the first segment here in week or in session 5, you'll understand what we're building. But just know that each session or each season has built upon itself. So there are different kind of core competencies. So earlier in the year, we learned about how to create our own GitHubs, how to snag different files, how to plug and play those into our AI cohorts. They sift through all of those things. So ultimately, when you see something that's on the timeline, you can take those white papers, you could take those GitHubs that you want to fork or whatever, and you can kind of create your agents to kind of suck all of that data in and distill it down in ways that you can understand. And that way, you are using that aggregator superpower to kind of come up with everything that you need, and then plug it into whatever model. If you're using HTML, great. If you're using your PHP, great. Whatever it is that you're using, you can take those bits of ideas and plug and play. These are like Lego blocks. So I hope I answered your question, but just know that we're all hack schooling here. We're all hacking our own education. And it's not about credentials anymore, folks. You don't have to go to an Ivy League in order to have a credential, a piece of paper that says you're qualified to do something. You are hacking your own education and you're saying, see what I built out in the open. And that serves as your credentials. And that's a very powerful thing, especially if you come from a family or a background where maybe you weren't a great student and you barely got a 2 point. You barely graduated, right? That doesn't define you as a person or your qualities or your competencies. It just says, hey, I don't belong in this system, and that's perfectly fine. There are people here that would have just given their right eye in order to go to an Ivy League school, and their parents didn't make enough money, or you were just not allowed to go, right? You have unlimited access now. The democratization of tools are at your fingertips, and you have all the Lego blocks, all of them in front of you to build whatever kingdom you want. You just have to define what it is that you want to build. And once that happens, you have all of these cohorts, real humans and AI, that will help you get there. Okay. So hopefully I answered your question, but yes, GitHubs, you guys, if you don't know how to build one, we can make you help you and we can help you behind the scenes, but it is hard to catch you up to almost a year of content and classwork, right? These folks have been putting in the work, 3 hours at a time every Wednesday night. So hopefully we can get you caught up. It's possible. So don't be overwhelmed. We don't leave anybody behind here. We make sure that we take you where you are at that point on the timeline of history, wherever you're at, and we'll help you build the world that you envision, right? Okay. So go ahead, Ross.
Also, for anyone, Sharon, I did send that to you, but there's a link there if you want to check it out. It's already been removed. The Wayback Time Machine has it. OpenAI people figured it out and removed it December 5th, about 30 minutes ago. So they did not want that to leak today. But at least now we know what the future is with O1. But
I mean, wasn't clear?
huh?
Wasn't that clear? I mean, they're going for profit. They need to make a buck. So that was kind of clear. I'm not really surprised about that. And what Sarah was saying is super important for us to understand, because there are open source models out there, right, that we can use. We use Open Router a lot. So, and these models can get really good if we give it a good system prompt. So I just want to put that out there. And thanks, Sarah, for that reminder, because we don't really have to use these tools. There are multimodal models also in the open source world.
Yeah, I
Slaps you
mean,
a crisp high five. Yes, exactly
it's
that, Karen.
important to understand like how to access all the things, because each company is going to gate certain things to a higher price, and it's not going to affect other things. It only affects their thing. So like, for example, Claude is another example. Like, they cap you when you use Claude. I think after you pay, you get like 30 messages, and then it will shut you off. But if you have Claude via programmatic API, there's no cutoff. It's just expensive, but there's no cutoff. So it's like a balancing act, I think, and finding like the right tools that have what you need would be what I would do when it comes to like paying for things. And for like my company, I would probably use like an open source model and train it with a system prompt or fine tune it. And if I had to use OpenAI and I didn't like their structure, I would do what Sharon said and go through someone else like OpenRouter. It's perfect. Any other questions before we continue? About your question?
I think I'm a little ahead, so maybe I'll wait, but
Wait,
it
what
has to
are
do
you
with the
doing?
models.
Well, ask. Go for it.
Okay. In the, when you're in the prompt section and you're, modifying the
Mhm.
little people, there's that model list, the drop down.
Yeah.
Is that dynamic? I mean, the only thing I can find is some static little table where I've looked everywhere. It's probably a me problem.
Are you looking for
Oh,
how the models are coming in?
yeah. Is
So
that like an API?
I'm guessing it's in the code pulling all the models from OpenAI because I see all the models here basically.
Okay.
So it looks to be dynamic because it's pulling in the latest models. So I'm getting like 8/6/2024, which is the latest model for
And that's
4.0.
because all of this is on OpenAI.
Yeah,
It's
and
configured
so
that way. Yeah.
yeah. So you would reconfigure this list to hit Open Router. That's what we were talking about with Sharon yesterday.
Yeah, and I've been sort of poking around, and I can't. I'm just like looking. I'm sure I'm just missing it or just
Oh,
being a
like
dummy.
you're like, where is it? It's probably in the
Yeah.
API.php, most likely. Yeah, it's right here. I'm looking at it.
Okay. Thank you. Shoot.
So API.php has where it's pulling all the models and using them. And you
Thank.
could always, even if it is static, you can make it not static, but it doesn't look static because then it would be like a file somewhere.
Yeah. I mean, the only darn thing I found was like some stupid static table that's just the model information. That little button underneath. I was just like, what? There's got to be more. So anyway, yeah. Thanks.
Yeah, I'm guessing it's pulling it. The best thing to do is pull down the website, right? Pull it into VS Code and literally search the word GPT-4. If you don't find it, then it's dynamic. Super easy to figure that one out.
Thank you.
It doesn't look like it's like a specific class or anything like that. So I really do think it is dynamic. In which case, you would just build a new page in the PHP. Because PHP is where all the things happen. So if it's not there, it just doesn't exist. So when I look at API, there's like a ton of stuff here about models, and I even see it calling the OpenAI base URL. So this is definitely where it is.
Thank you.
I would specifically look at, I'll tell you the line number that I would start at. Well, honestly, what I would do is I would just be like, hey, AI tutor, what is this code doing? Let's see. One second. I'm going to ask AI tutor what he's using this code. Ink. Okay. Let's see what's there. So you should have an INC folder. And there's like an includes folder. Let's see what's there.
For those folks listening in that may not be familiar, using an AI cohort to suss out things that we don't understand is a commonplace thing that happens here in class. And so it may seem odd to you. For some people, this is the most jarring piece of the puzzle, is that it feels like it's cheating. And I want to remind you, it's not. Leonardo da Vinci used a Lucida camera to highlight and to, project images on the wall. People just don't know it. He had access to, lenses that were polished and wonderfully rare, right? But everybody throughout history has used whatever technologies at their fingertips to their advantage. Creativity is not about the stuff, it's about how you use what's on hand. So when you're watching Ross in the live stream, use my AI tutor to fill in the blanks. AI is new to everybody, right? We all have loopholes, and there is a moment where you have to kind of put your pride and your ego aside, which is very difficult sometimes, and because you want to be the person that knows the stuff. But in this specific time period, you are going to have to kind of put that aside and say, hey, I actually need you to explain this to me, and explain it to me as a novice, right? Because I can tell you, you know, it is very jarring for some folks, and just understand that we know that, and we see you, and we're here to hold your hand, because you have to learn this stuff, and you need this skill set in order to compete in the marketplace, even just next year, right? This technology is moving so fast that you need to kind of take a deep breath and just plow through it. If it's confusing to you now, it's because you're in the middle of a class that's already almost a year over. So don't worry about it. You will learn these skill sets, but just watch and see how he is doing it. This is something that will enter your workflow, and you will put into your workflow from here on out, is that you're just going to have your AI sitting there on your computer screen or in your back corner. Your characters, your AIs, are going to go out as minions, and they're going to hunt and gather for all of this stuff, and they're going to suss it out so that you can distill that information and decide which direction you'd like to go in. All right. So I hope that clears it up for you. Go ahead, Ross.
I got some DMs about models. So quick 2-second class about this. Yes, they're open source. I would say over 150 models minus 50 are open source in AI Tutor. But open source doesn't mean free, guys. But it does mean you could run it. So if you have a computer capable enough to run Mixtral, you could technically run this app straight from your computer and have no API cost. But you need a computer to handle that sort of throughput. Right now, most computers are not set up to handle a language model with GPUs. You would need something like what we have here that runs Pixio, which is a few 4090s. And you would need some A100s potentially as you scale up. But yes, anyone who's asking me about all these models right now, because there are 4 of you asking about different models, and all of them are open source. So I hope that clears that up. Though this is not open source, the models are, but the software that we're using, that is actually paid. Like someone actually sells this and created it. The UI and all that stuff. Okay, so any other questions?
We're good to go, Ross.
Cool. So make sure you guys pick your own categories that relate to like your company or your brand or whatever. You don't want to keep everything the same. I would even say like make your own and make your own icons. You can see you can just upload an icon here. Just don't be lazy. This is your product, guys. This is not the time to be like a little bit lazy. This is where you kind of go really hard. I think if you guys customize it all, it will look so not like this that people wouldn't even be able to look at both products and be like, they're the same. That's basically what I'm trying to do, is like, so like when we go to each other's projects, it's not like going to the same project. We don't want that. Not when we're launching something. And make sure you've edited your credit packs and your images. And if you were in the last classes and you're like, I need the code, I need that good source code, you can DM us and we will happily give you the source code. At this point, though, if you weren't here, source code is no longer available. It is available for purchase, not through us, obviously. We don't sell it. But you could purchase it from directly to the creator, and it's around $60 to $80. And we're going to have something new next season to build. Again, same idea. So you got to make sure that you're coming to the beginning of the season, the first week, the second week, so you can get an understanding, get the software, get the code, get everything you need. And by week 5, you're like, here, like Rutro, and you have it built. And Julie and all you other people that have it built. So that's what you all should do. If you're here for the first time, we're literally going to start another season in about a week. So in 1 week, there'll be a whole new season, new project, new code, new classes, and you guys should come. I mean, it's free. I don't know why you wouldn't want free education. It's completely no strings attached, free. Now, the other thing that I want to talk about is next week, cPanel, you're going to want to back up all your projects unless you have upgraded. If you have upgraded your cPanels, you're good. Just leave it. Nothing's going to happen. But if you didn't upgrade your cPanels, you're going to want to back it up because we're going to refresh all the cPanels for season 6. So unless you actually did upgrade, I would back everything up.
That's
Okay.
Mighty Networks, folks.
That
You're
is
in the
Mighty Network.
you're in the Mighty Networks, and that is where they get housed if you want to keep it.
So if you want to keep the cPanel and keep all this everything as is, you can keep it forever. You could build your business on it. You could build products. You can make sales. And that's all okay. You just need to upgrade it because without upgrading it, it will get automatically wiped because we have a script we run which will wipe out everyone. That's not in Mighty Networks. And just refresh it so that a new batch of 20, 30, 40 people can get cPanels. Now, make sure you edit the blogs. That's another thing. So there's blogs here that are not yours. Go edit them. You don't want to be cross-found with a product, guys. Like you don't want someone to Google it and find the product, not you. So make sure that you're changing everything. So like I would just be like, I love this blog, but I'm lazy. We'll go to AI Tutor, rewrite this for me. And then boom, you get a totally rewritten version of that article. You can even reformat it so it looks better. So that easy. You just grab it, go back to my code, and paste it. That's it. Now the blog is customized. The images too, you can customize. And then once you're done, you're like ready to go. Just like start making a WordPress site about the product, right? Like a little ad site, like a front end about what you are, like a normal, SaaS, and make like a FAQ. And you guys should build a status page for your product in case something goes down. You can tell your users. We did put this in the season 5. I put it there. So there's links to our admin panel. Then there's a link to the website where you can get an admin panel. And they're free.
Ross, this is a tangent, but last night we talked about banned words and how to frack up your Stripe and get it revoked permanently. Can you go over that again just to make sure that we have on the recording what not to do with this? Because once it goes live, folks, you're out of the digital playground, remember, and you own it. That's part of radical ownership, is that you get to take ownership of all of the wins and the losses. So if you are having your characters doing some seedy things, you may get banned. You may get red carded. For many people that are in the listening audience, we do have a lot of young makers that listen anonymously with their teachers. So we try to keep things as PG as possible, but we do know where money follows and where money goes and what people do with a lot of the stuff. So as it is with open source tools, we can put them out into the universe and just kind of hope that good wins, right? So Ross, can you go over that real quick again? Because I can't answer that question very well in texty kind of DMs.
Yeah, so OpenAI has a very strict policy for what you can and can't talk about. So if you're building an app where they are chatting about things that it doesn't want to talk about, so for example, how do I make meth, right? The age-old classic for AI. If you ask it that, right, typically, ChatGPT would be like, no, red text, try again. And it will stop you, right? But with the API, it will not stop you. However, what will stop you is a ban on your account. And I know what this looks like, believe it or not, because I've been banned from OpenAI. But mistakenly, y'all, they made a mistake. But I saw the process. And it's crazy. It's like you wake up in the morning and like everything is gone. And it's like all red saying you violated the terms of use for OpenAI. Please reach out and we'll let you know what happened. Right. So I reached out and they were like, your account has been suspended for saying the wrong things, so to speak. Right. Too many times. So I asked them to, look into it. And this all happened in 24 hours. They were very quick about it. And they realized they made a mistake. But I got to see what it's like when you actually get banned. And they really shut everything off. They have zero tolerance. They even told me, just for the future reference, I looked at your account. We see you're using the moderation API endpoint, and that's great. But he said it's not foolproof, right? And the moderation API has limits, even though it's free. So the best thing to do is curb the ability to use certain words, which is what he told me, even though I'm doing that anyways. But that's what he told me to avoid this. And he said that they're super sorry and that it's not supposed to happen, but they have a very tight ship. And sometimes, people that shouldn't be banned get banned because of their very tight security. So just keep that in mind when you release something, because like people say the darnest things, man. You think kids do? No. AI people do. Like adults.
To piggyback that too, we also discussed last night CAPTCHAs, and the reason why we want to make sure that we're locking down these sites in certain ways, because you can have, let's say, I forgot the term that you used last night, but 10,000 agents coming in with a credit card, and they are testing the perimeters like little velociraptors. Yes, we want to make sure to put that on the recording also for the future dwellers that are listening in that were not available last night, because that is another thing that we had to go over for class. Go ahead. Ross, you have to go
No,
and
I was
explain
getting
that.
a phone call. I had to decline it. So it's really important to use reCAPTCHA because it's going to put a barrier between card testers and your website and you. 2-minute story time. I was one of these people who, I'm still a person with my thing. I formerly believed like that is crazy. And when someone told me that, I'm like, you're bugging. That's not real. Until I woke up one morning and there were 47 new people at AI Tutor overnight. And then I'm like, oh, this is cool. Whatever. So I have breakfast and then another 40. So now I'm like, what's going on? So I go into Stripe. Lo and behold, all 87 of them have the same email. Is that crazy or is that crazy? I freaked out. Did not know what to do. Contacted Stripe, called them because they have a phone number. And whoever tells you Stripe sucks and they know a phone number, they're just stupid. And they don't know how to use the internet and click contact us and click call me. It's like so easy. They were like, you seem to be the victim of one of our latest scams. I'm like, oh, that's fun. What is it? And they're like, card testing. It's when your website is really easy to take payment on. And bots can do this programmatically. And you have to refund them because here's the kicker. If you have 100 transactions from Stripe, they're all going to charge you a few cents. They add up quick. It normally is fine when you're making money, but when you're not and you have to refund all of them, you pay the refund fee. 80 times.
And you get your account flagged from Stripe. And once you
And well,
lose,
that's why I really
yeah,
called Sarah. That was the real reason. I was like, well, how does this affect my account? Because if you have that many returns in a span of 24 hours, you get a red card on Stripe. And they were like, well, normally, yes, your account would be on alert and probably be stopped at this point. if you hadn't reached out. So because I reached out, they put a shield on my account that protects me from Stripe turning me off because they know that I called and I'm doing something about it. But if you do nothing, you just sit there, bye Stripe. Like, you have to pay attention to these things. You don't need reCAPTCHA, but you need eyes on the Stripe dashboard all day. There can't even be one set of like 5 hours you're not looking at Stripe. That's bad. Get the phone app, log in, you're chilling. If you don't have the phone app and something goes wrong and you don't know, that's your fault. So you can go cry in the corner alone because it's your fault. You can prevent this by taking your phone out, downloading Stripe, and logging in. That easy. Then you get alerts. It'll be like, this person just subscribed. Is this good? Cool? Good? Kosher? Nice. Or no, refund, cancel. And it was
Folks,
really easy to fix it, but you have to fix it.
the reason we're bringing this up is that if you're building AI agents, you're responsible, right? So just as you're building a bunch of legions to work for your greater good, there are equal and opposing legions trying to test the perimeters, right, to see what they can get away with. And in those circumstances, you have bad actors with a stack of stolen credit cards, and they need a place to test them so that they can get away with what they're doing. This is a typical, blue versus red, black versus white, whatever kinds of games they play in the background with your different colored hats and whatnot. And when we're building, there is a danger because we're leaning heavily into AI that we don't know what the heck we're doing. We don't know what we don't know. We are building something that we may not have the core competencies to control, right? So what you try to do is mitigate all of those things because your Stripe account is actually attached to your social security, your digital identification. And if that gets taken away, it is super hard to get it back. So,
Well, it's not even
yeah.
just like you being the problem. Like, what if this happens and you didn't know, And then it's like a subscription, right? So like now on the stolen credit card, your app is charging, but no one's using it. And they don't care to cancel it because they're just card testing. So then the
So-
true owner wakes up in the morning and says, "What the hell is this?" And then calls their bank, opens a dispute. Now you have a dispute with a customer that's not your customer on a platform that's yours. So you should know who they are, technically. Like,
So
people
Ross,
think I'm crazy for meeting all my customers. See how it's not so crazy?
exactly. Can you show on the computer or on your screen where they would kind of initiate that CAPTCHA? The other thing too that we talked about last night that's really important when you're testing, let's say you're a developer. If you're a developer and you're dealing in pirate money in your cryptos, right? We carry all of those different currencies. We carry all the different coins, right? Because you're going to need those for testing your smart contracts or whatever. In this realm where you're building your websites and you are using multiple platforms and multiple things to pull together for your hub of information, having a designated laptop, let's say, for your shenanigans in AI world, and having a prepaid credit card so that you are making your safe fences. Good fences make good neighbors. And when you're building these ecosystems out, you want to make sure, we're practicing safe wallet hygiene, we're practicing safe business hygiene, and we are making sure that there are kind of friction barriers between, let's say, your personal data and your AI minions. Because
Like I'll
yeah,
give you a good example, Sarah. In Idea to Impact season 1, and I believe one of the other seasons, we did Next.js, right? Now everyone was like, the ENV, like, what do we put? And of course, me, Alisher, and Nick carefully constructed the projects that you use, right? And we're like, use the ENV exactly as we do it, right? But then someone like Sharon could go on AI Tutor and be like, hey, fix this thing. And then it changes the ENV to something else like next underscore public underscore API underscore key. Now, though that works, right? It will work. AI Tutor's not wrong. Anyone know the problem based on what we learned in season 1 and season 3?
Sharon, he's telling you what's wrong with it.
In my ENV, if I put next underscore public underscore open underscore API underscore key instead of open underscore API underscore key, what's the difference? Anyone know?
I have no idea, Sarah. You have to put it right so that your code can call on it or what? Can pick
No,
it up?
both
I don't know.
will work. Both will work.
I have no idea.
Because if I put in my code that the ENV is process.env, whatever name I put will work. But what's the problem with next public? Anyone know?
Well, will it be public or what? I mean, the word public, is that a problem?
So let me show you how this goes. I go to your website, I chat with the AI, but I'm sneaky, so I don't just chat. I right click, inspect element, and then send a message. Right now, I see your OpenAI key. Peace.
Uh-oh, not good.
So
You didn't
anytime in your
run all the
ENV,
words and then you do public and you mess it all up.
yeah. So anytime you're doing an ENV and you see the words next public, it should be like alert in your head, because that will be available to the client side in the inspect element. You can probably go to websites like actual products that take your money and will charge you and just right click and talk and you'll see the key. People are so dumb. Don't be the dumb people. Always protect the information. And that's sort of what we're learning about with setting up reCAPTCHA. It's protecting the information that should not be public. Like PHP is hardened, so you're good leaving it there, but you can't put this code on GitHub. Like if you forget and you just put this on GitHub and you were just like having a moment of dumbness, what would happen? Anyone know? This project. Put it on GitHub. What happens?
Wouldn't you get in a lot of trouble for violating exposing code that isn't allowed to be shared?
That's true. That's one problem. So then you'll have to deal with the creator. What's the other problem?
Well, is it public? And then, well, yeah, I mean, you're gonna give
Start
out.
from the beginning, Sharon, before your brain explodes.
Okay.
Where is the key?
Well, the key is in your, it's also in the PHP, right? It's in all your stuff, isn't it? I mean, if you expose
Right.
that.
So if you put this project on GitHub, you're also putting your key on GitHub, which is dangerous. That means your OpenAI key is on GitHub. And I know I'm like, it seems like I'm rambling, but I wanted to end the session with this because I had an issue when I first launched AI Tutor, and I made that next public dumb mistake. That's why I'm telling you, live vicariously through me. And somebody got the key and ran up like $2,000. And I was like, what? And then OpenAI had to like go into my account, delete all my keys, right? And then refund me almost $2,000.
Isn't that generous from them? I mean, your stupidness, and thanks for sharing
Yeah,
that
but
with
I
us.
don't know if everyone would get that situation, so I wouldn't test it. I know because we're partnered with them, I escalated it really high, and then that's why I think they did it. But I would not expect it at all because it's your fault. Like it was my fault, not theirs.
I want to thank you for saying that, for being so honest, because I always think I'm the only dumb person. I'm sorry, Sarah, the dumb person in here. And I'm the only one that does stupid stuff, but you do it too. Thank you for that.
No, I did all the dumb things. How do you think I know them? Like I just think about them? No, I did them all. Like I've been in the situation where you're like, oh my God, who is using my API key right now? I don't know. And then also you can't restrict API keys because you have a product and people are using it. So if you turn them all off, everyone can't use AI Tutor, not just the bad guys. So that's why I'm explaining stuff to you, because you can like protect yourself from being in a situation. Like I was dumb and I'll never be that dumb again with the next public. But in my defense, guys, in my defense, I was learning Node for the first time 2 years ago and Next.js. I'm a PHP guy. And AI Tutor was all like, oh, you can put Next public and it will work. And I'm like, oh, great. And then I did it and it worked. Except every time you inspect element, you can just like copy and paste the OpenAI key.
I just want to say, you degens out there that dabble in the dark arts of pirate money, you already know this stuff, not your keys, not your crypto kind of thing. So you are already hardened and prepared for this. For those of you that aren't in that Web3 ecosystem, this might be a hard lesson for you, but definitely got to protect those resources, folks. And I think we answered all the questions and dotted all the I's and crossed all the T's from last night. I don't think we have any other questions, but this session, I will just tell you, is not or is a little unordinary. It's out of the ordinary in terms of what we usually do on a Thursday. But, we have a lot of influx of new people. I'm really excited for you because I know that you're going to start a journey that
In
is
your
going to be
defense,
awesome.
Sarah,
Yes,
in your
love?
defense, every one of our classmates are all caught up. So this helped
Yes.
them plus everyone else.
Exactly. And I will tell you, our very first seasons, usually on day one of the season, you have 70 or 80 people. By the last class, you have maybe a dozen. But I will tell you, the lives that have been changed in terms of those handful of people that saw it through to the end, their lives have been changed. They've built some incredible things and they've prospered in many ways. It's not just, in the bank account, which is obviously a great measure. It's also in the skill set that they need to build upon one another. I kind of joke, we have Rutro on stage and we have Sharon on stage. We have Starboss on stage. These women are not coders, right? But because of these classes, their lives have been changed. I can tell you, Sharon and Kirk met way back when in the Innovators Think Tank, and they became friends. They run their own space. They had created their own real world magazine that, What the LLM, for instance, that's how their journey has progressed and been very profitable for them. So, you may be sitting here in the audience thinking, why am I here? Well, why are you here? What do you want to accomplish? What are your goals and dreams and aspirations? Because we have the ability to help you get through it. And some of this conversation is dry and pithy and boring. We get it. We understand. Some people just listen to this as a podcast. They don't even participate. But those folks that say, you know what? I'm going to try my hand at it. I can tell you, Starboss, I'll use her as an example. She has had a brain injury and not only learned how to talk through X spaces, she, as a former, teacher, has regained all of these skills through these classes and now is creating an app. So, you look at the lives of people, ordinary folks. These are just ordinary people who are choosing to be extraordinary. And I hope that each and every one of you find that kind of little golden nugget, put it in your pocket and say, hey, I can do this too. Because, these tools have the capability of magnifying your profitability. And I say that profitability in many different ways: currency, wealth of knowledge, fill in the blank. You have the opportunity of a lifetime here. So hopefully you'll take it and run with it. Hopefully you'll surround yourself with people that